Are you ready?
Deadman walking.
For life.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Deadman Collectibles. This is the Supercoach series where I'll be going through some information around Supercoach. My plan is to go through each team one by one and deconstruct how they're going to impact the 2025 season and sort of what choices you have in regards to each team. I thought I'd start off with the Rabbitohs because they are the team I support and I know them the best. But before I do that, I just wanted to tell you about our collectible store that is the channel that I'm on. We have NRL cards. We also have NBA cards, baseball cards, basketball cards, WWE cards, soccer cards, whatever, any sort of cards that you're after. Throughout the year, we are going to do some NRL breaks when the NRL Traders card set comes out and the NRL Elite card set come out. But that's not for a little while. But if you are interested in any collectibles, please check out www.deadmancollectibles.com. Check us out on Instagram at Deadman Collectibles, and same thing with Facebook at Deadman Collectibles. Also, if you give us a like and subscribe, that'd be great. Obviously helps to grow the channel a little bit, and sort of just keeps me motivated to keep doing these things. So, but yeah, look, to start off with, like I said, I thought I would just literally go through the team. I've used the 2025 picker to essentially pick an entire team of South players, and we would just go through that and sort of just see if there is anything that's going to impact decisions that we make to build our team at the start. So, look, I think obviously to start off with, I think it's actually, you know what? I think it's probably best that we just go through the draw a little bit to give an idea what we've got. In terms of the draw, South have a pretty good run to start off with the Dolphins and the Dragons and the Sharks. Obviously, I do think the Sharks are going to be a little bit better than what they were last year, and the same with the Dragons. I do think the Dolphins probably drop off a little bit, but look, as much as I think I might know what I'm talking about, I don't. And, I can see by the majority of even NRL pundits that you don't really know what's going on until halfway through the season. Like, there's always teams that perform way better than you think, and there's always teams that perform way worse than you think. And it's so obvious why when it happens, but, it's not what you think before that. So, so we'll have to find out and see, but obviously we've got to just try and plan for it a little bit. So look, I think it's not a bad opening to the season. Obviously you got Penrith in there, which doesn't help things. The Roosters aren't what they used to, but again, they're not as good as, I don't think they're as good as what they were the last few years, or last year especially, and what they were the last few years. But it's South Roosters, so you never know what's going to happen. Again, Cowboys, I think it dropped off a bit. Bulldogs, mid-level sort of thing. Then you start getting into Melbourne, Newcastle, Brisbane. Well, I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but basically it's a pretty good start to the year. So I don't think you would not pick South players because of the draw to start the year off. In terms of the actual buy rounds themselves, the way I sort of describe it is that there's mini buy rounds and major buy rounds, and I think that's, I don't think I've coined that phrase or anything, but just the easiest way to say it. Obviously, South do have round 12 as their first buy. They have round 19 as their second buy, and then they have round 26 as their last buy. So that's important. Obviously, when you're getting to the back end of the season, you don't want your teams having buys. So, but what is important though is there's this stretch at the end. Like, obviously, there's the buy, play Penrith again, then Sharks, Brisbane. You get into this section, like the stretch of 3 games where it's Titans, Eels, Dragons, bye and the Roosters. So I think really South start the season off pretty well and finish the season off pretty well. The middle is probably the struggle. Now, the question you're going to have is, are you going to be able to have enough trades to essentially bring in players to start off the season, maybe get rid of them during the middle of the season, and then bring them out, and then also have enough to cover for that buy at the end of the year? That sounds like a lot to me, and this year I am being very conscious of buys because that's been my undoing. Not buys, I'm being my trades. That has been my undoing over the last few years. Every year I've ended up with not enough trades, so that the back end, and I've just sort of fallen away the last few weeks. And to be honest, I think in terms of ranking, I think that's where you can gain a lot of play because there's so many people that do drop off in the last sort of 4 or 5 weeks that you can really just make massive jumps. So, in terms of the major and minor, obviously Souths do have the first major bye round. In round 12. They then have round 13 they're playing. They're playing against the Warriors, and obviously that's not going to have a significant impact. Like they're not going to have a lot of rested players because of Origin or anything, so that's not a positive thing. South. Then the next major bye round, round 15, they're playing the Bulldogs. So again, you won't have Matt Burton. Hopefully, you won't have maybe Reid Marnie, but I don't think there'll be many other guys missing. So that's probably a good game to target for that round. But again, there's nothing there. Then in the following week, we play the Storm. So hopefully they're going to rest some guys. So Bellamy has rested people over the last couple of years. More so at the third Origin, but hopefully there'll be some restings there. The South can sort of take advantage of. Then the next major bye round is round 18. South playing the Eagles. Obviously, you've got the Travojevic brothers. You've got Jerry Evans, and there's some random other players throughout that'll go. So I think again that's probably a good game to target. Then South have the bye following round 19. So yeah, and then obviously that's just the Origin. Yeah. So yeah, just with that in context, I think that and we can go through the plays. So we'll go through them now. Obviously we've got Peter Mamouzelos. He seems like one of the cheapies to start off with. I think it's probably him or the one of the player from the Roosters. While I'm on stream, Sandon Smith. So I think between Sandon Smith and Peter Mamouzelos is sort of the cheapies that you're looking at going for hooker. Historically, Hook has actually been a pretty important spot for Supercoach, but the last probably 4 or 5 years it's not been. Basically, it's been Harry Grant and Daylight. Then you might get sort of your Abby Coruscaws or obviously Damien Cook's in that time. Obviously Cook's left now, which has created that space for Mamouzelos in the first place. But when Wayne Bennett was coach the first of South the first time, everyone was saying because of the rule changes that Cook was going to have a big year, and I remember watching, and we were just waiting for it to happen and waiting for it to happen, and in fact he sort of regressed a little bit during that time, in terms of Supercoach, that is. I think it's because of the way that Wayne plays. He wants the dummy half to be there, throw a quick pass, and be quick about what he's doing, not take runs, right? And not be a playmaker. It's a distributing role, and a defensive role. So I think that I'm worried with Missoula that he's a bit small, right? But otherwise, he should get the opportunity, um, definitely. And the only one that's going to take minutes off him, I think, is Havili. Now, Havili, I think, is someone that you want to start with. Well, I will be starting with him. For starters, really because of the starters, but because of the duel. He has a duel with the second row position. And so you always, I probably want to start with him, and then I would get rid of one of sort of your mid-range second rowers once they peak, and then drop him down to the second row. Then you've got a guy that's not going to be playing Origin that could cover, and because should be good. Otherwise, you can keep him there. Let Mamazoulos sort of peak in price. Get rid of him. You've got someone who's actually going to should be getting decent minutes, and then replace him with a Harry Grant or whoever you think you need to at that time. The only problem with Havili is there is a little bit of competition for that ability role, like the 14 role. So I think it was Jamie Humphries is sort of the one that's being thrown up. So that's an option there. The other one that could be an option for that sort of 14 role is Jane Sullivan. So I don't know if many people even are aware of it because it sort of happened, I think it was just before Christmas, and it sort of just didn't get any fanfare. Supercoach haven't changed him, as you can see, still in the Tigers team here, and even within on the NRL website in regards to the team, it doesn't he's not listed there. So yeah, he's not listed there at all. But obviously, for evidence, there is the article where he has signed. So on the 20th, Friday the 20th. So literally the Friday before Christmas when everyone's leaving to go away. So like I said, it wouldn't surprise me if people haven't realised that. And obviously that will impact something else a bit later that I'll get to. But yeah, so anyway, I suppose that's the only thing to get a bit. I don't think it's out of the question because Havili essentially is a front rower. He's also quick, so obviously these days he's a middle, and then you've got the ability to then go into dummy half. I think realistically he's going to be on the bench. He'll be a middle, and because he can do that utility role. Perhaps they might have another guy that's a utility at 14. He's at 15. The idea is you can rotate all three of them into different positions. Look, who knows? Wayne's sneaky bugger. So, you never know what he'll do, but I think he does actually like Havili quite a bit. So I don't think his minutes are in question. I think it's more a matter of how that's going to fit into the team. But I think he will get his minutes. And I do think Mamoulas is a good option. So, yeah, that's like I said, I will likely be starting with Mamoulas, and I'll be having Havili, whether it's hooker or whether it's second row. I'm not sure. It's going to depend on probably the makeup of my team with salary cap and everything. Front row. So to be honest, I think this is the biggest issue for South generally, in terms of football. We are weak in the front row anyway, and we just over the last few years we've been having almost a turnstile of young props that we think are going to come through, and then they get to first grade and they just don't quite meet expectations, or they never quite make that next step. However, in terms of Supercoach, that's always given opportunity for a young prop to come through and sort of be a cheapie. unfortunately, David Mawali sort of has out of cheap territory for me. He's 389,000. That's too much as for like a cheap option. I think there's going to be better options around, because especially because of what his role is. I don't think he's going to be the starting front rower. He might be, but like literally these are the options we have currently. It's Tola, LeBlanc, who played a bit at the end of last season, quite a young fella. So Sean Kepi, David Mawali, and probably Jai Arrow. Um, so what I'm hoping is that Kolomatangi actually moves to the front row. He was playing middle for a while there last year, and he was doing real well. With Murray's injury, though, there's a good chance that he might actually go to 13, which will throw that out the window. But if he's playing middle and he could be a front rower, I think he's a great option. But he's pretty expensive, so you know probably better options there. Um, but that is an option in terms of football. In terms of Supercoach, I think really the guys you're looking at would be Totola for his price. Like considering he is basically is our most experienced front rower, at 343, that's pretty good. I think he's going to go up at least sort of 50 100k. Sort of that 450, not for probably like 425. That's sort of where I'm thinking that. He got a good 70k there, with soft start, so maybe he might bag a try or whatever. We can always pray. Um, and I think he needs to prove himself too. I think like really, this is probably the last like year where he's going to be considered a younger, like he's going to be considered a leader now in our forward pack. So he needs to step up. If he doesn't, I'm sure Wayne will be looking elsewhere. So for the next couple of years, um, that does leave probably a cheapie to come from South. I think LeBlanc's an option. Um, that could be, or the other one, Shaq Mitchell, which I don't have on here just because I couldn't fit him in. But when Shaq has played, he's actually done pretty well Supercoach wise, and he's pretty cheap. So, and I think like he was being used with Wayne as well when Wayne was there. So it is an option, and yeah, look, we'll probably see him in the All Star game. He'll probably be front row again. And see how we go from there. But yeah, I think it's just going to be very much team list dependent at the start of the year. But I think Totola is someone that you can eye off maybe as a starting front row that you might get starting front row minutes out of, and maybe sort of 50 points, sort of 40, 45, 50 points around there. We'd probably be hoping for. Um, but we'll see how we go. But anyway, that's someone I'll probably be targeting. I suppose my issue, and I've been conscious of this previously, is that I did often tend to pick a lot of South players, and I think that that's obviously just because I support them. But actually, this year, it seems like that's not, from what I've seen from other people's teams and what I've gone through myself. I think that that's going to be pretty common to at least start off the season. I think there's cheapies at South where there aren't at some other teams, and obviously that'll change pretty quickly after sort of 3 to 6. So, yeah. So anyway, that's the front row. Second row, obviously Colin Matangi's there. I think his price is too much, just for what else is out there. I don't really think he's an option. In terms of football, he probably is an option. I just keep an eye on him if he's what's going on in terms of where he's playing, and yeah, and how he's getting used. But yeah, in terms of Supercoach, I just think he's too expensive for the position. Jai Arrow, actually, that's another thing. So Jai Arrow is eligible for front row as well. So you can pick him there. I don't know where he's going to play, and I think that will drastically impact how much he's going to score. With Murray out, I think that again is sort of changing everything, in terms of where people are playing. I would have thought he would be playing middle, but Wayne has this nasty habit of trying to get players who are world class in a position to change positions from sorry, from 13 to an edge. He did that with Murray, and it wouldn't surprise me if he tried it again. Look, Arrow might be in the same boat there. They might put him on the edge. If he is on the edge, I don't really think it's a good option. But if he's starting prop and he's getting minutes, it could be an option. But again, he's an awkward price. He's almost 500k. I think you can get Tino for about that. So there's absolutely no chance I'm taking him at that price. When you get up Tino, but could be an option. Again, I think it'll just depend on what the other options are out there. But really, I don't think it's a good idea. Tails Duncan. Tails Duncan is, I think, a good option, but again, his price is that little bit more than I would have liked. I think he's got a good chance of then getting good minutes, potentially at 13. It's another year later. Murray's going to be out for, well, it's indefinite technically, but I would imagine it's be at least the first few months of the season. So he's going to get a good sort of good stretch of games. Yeah, so I think Duncan is an option. 420 is a pretty good price as well. But yeah, like I don't know 100%, not 100% he plays there. Like really, they could move Kolomatangi to 13. He did okay there. Arrow they could put to 13. So it's not as though he's got his hands on it. I think there's potential that it doesn't necessarily get the minutes. So need to watch out for that. But yeah, look, I would be probably putting him in my team because I think even if he doesn't get that 13 spot, he probably gets a head. So yeah, we'll see. Jacob Host, I think he regressed a fair bit last year. I don't think he's fixed. He had a good stretch throughout his career. I'm sorry, like the last couple of years, but I don't know. Again, if he's named, I think he's a good option. Like if he's starting, but I don't see it happening. Especially considering who we've signed with Schuster as well. And also he might put pressure on Duncan at 13th spot. I really don't think so. I think he's a 12. So because of his defensive issues, but attacking wise, he could be in that 13 spot. But football wise, I'm not overly happy, to be honest, about the signing. I think it's when players have obviously there's injuries and stuff that are making. I'm not going to like judge how how he runs his life or whatever. But I suppose what's getting reported is that it's an attitude problem as well. If it is, I don't know if it's worth. Like, obviously, there's the talent's there. No one's questioning that. I just don't know if it's really worth the risk. But look, if anyone can do it, it's Wayne. So we'll see. But look, obviously, I think he's almost a must-have though because of the price. So and the potential. Like realistically, if he plays, he's going to make money. So you got to have him in there. And Hubner as well. He played a bit as well at the end of the year. I don't really see it happening, but if there's injuries, he'll come in. Yeah. So look, I suppose just overall at the moment, I think like the real options available are Mazulos, Havili, Polar, Arrow, and Duncan. And the sort of the ones I'm going to be more looking at are Mamulos, Havili, Polar, and Duncan and Schuster. They're the ones at the moment. And obviously, look, that's a lot of South players. That is. So I'm going to factor that into is that I might end up not picking someone, even though it might be the best option, just because I've got too many South players, and it's going to my life a bit hellish when the buys start coming. So in terms of halfbacks, that's the major thing for us this year. Major. Like I think that'll make or break our season. Obviously, since Reynolds has gone, it's just that decision. I don't. I look, to be honest, I think that was the right decision, probably. Um, in terms of football and in terms of um like salary cap management stuff. Um, but it was clearly the wrong decision. Like in terms of in terms of club club and culture and everything. Um, like I don't understand if you aren't going to keep Adam Reynolds, everyone's like, and then the whole thing about not signing people over 30 and then just sign Walker, it's crazy. Look, I get they looked at that and went, okay, we've got Cook, we've got Reynolds, we've got Walker, and we've got Mitchell. We can't keep all of them. One of them's got to go. Who's going to go? Right, and I think that they put their eggs in the Ilias basket and thought that um, he could go. And look, and I think it's been right in terms of the injury risk because he like unfortunately he's shown that he does get injured a lot. The one year that they didn't get injured, that he didn't get injured, they went to the final. Um, you know, but I just don't. Unfortunately for him, I just don't see him getting through a full season at his age. Um, so and the thing is, his injuries aren't like a week, 2 weeks. They're like good injuries, and now he's starting to get those little weekly injuries on top. So whatever, it's happened. I'm still, as you can still see, I'm salty about it, but it is what it is. But yeah, since obviously he's been gone, we've been struggling to find someone. We had a couple of young guys that we thought could be an option. Obviously, Ilias is now gone. I can't remember his name now, but the other young fellow who'd sort of won the reserve grade player of the season. He's too small, I think, and he didn't quite work out. So it looks like they've gone out and signed three halfbacks, three halves. So obviously they're not thinking he's an option either. So obviously there's that Lewis Dodd. I'm assuming Wayne had something to do with that. I think Wayne has a lot of connections with British players, especially with Burgess over there. I think it would surprise me if they're just talking the whole time. I imagine Sam's not as dirty on anything since Nature is gone. So sure, and obviously he has connections. Wayne has connections over there anyway, so wouldn't surprise me if he had like a lot to do with that. But technically he wasn't there, so maybe he did. But I just don't see how he wouldn't. Um, so looks like he's got first crack at it. But thing is, we also signed Humphreys from Manly. Apparently he is a good young gun. And again, like if you were 100% in on Dodd, I don't know why you would sign him. Although we need another halfback, like it's not that. I would have, and I'm surprised he's going there. Like he obviously thinks he's got, because why would you leave Manly when you've got Cherry Evans sort of going out the door in the next couple of years, right? Like he's got to go in a couple of years surely. So, um, if that's the case, I think he thinks he's got an option. And then even after that, they've now signed Sullivan as well from the Tigers. So, and he was supposed to be. George were desperate to keep him, and then the Tigers were over the moon. They got him, and we've obviously got Galvin, and then now Luai. So there's a surplus to requirement. So it's obviously going to be between those three. Assuming Cody does play 5'8", which I imagine he will. So yeah, basically I'd be waiting and picking which one out of the three that he's playing. Simple as that. At this point, I would say it's Dodd, but who knows? I suppose the one thing to take note though is that Sullivan does have a 5'8" dual, and so does Cody Walker. So Cody Walker can play halfback, well, so that potentially is an option. But I suppose when you're structuring the teams now, like I've sort of tried to play around with it and sort of put two couple of gun halfbacks in, um, a couple of good gun fullbacks, and maybe having a decent 5'8". You just don't. I think you're making your team too top heavy, and I think you struggle. Team. So I don't see that happening. So I think you do have to save a bit of cash in halves and try to build up to the big guns. Um, I I think Dodd is probably, or whoever, like I said, whoever's actually starting there, it's likely going to be Dodd is an option. I think Cody is an option. Can be caught at 5'8", because there's no one else. Well, there's no one else. It's pretty thin. Like there's Dylan Brown. I think he's pretty much for everyone, and then like everyone should have him. And then there's a second option. I think probably Cody's probably the one that you between maybe Munster and Cody's probably the other option that you're trying to sort of get to eventually. But yeah, yeah. I look. It's probably not something I'm going to do, but it's something that some people will. And yeah, that's not the best option in the world. Yeah. So center wings. Um, Unfortunately, I think Alex Johnson's out for too long. Like he's did his Achilles, and I think he's going to be out for the far majority of the year. So for our purposes, I just don't think it's worth it. To discuss it really. Unfortunately, I don't know if he's going to get that record, to be honest. But fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Even if he has to, maybe he goes to these Papua New Guinea descent. He's represented them a few times. Maybe he could go there in his twilight years, get the final thing. If yeah, look, fingers crossed he comes back and goes amazing. I'm concerned about him, and he's one of my favorite players. So I really hope he does. But yeah, I just don't see it happening. Anyway, so I'm just going to get rid of him because it's just not given. But Campbell Graham, it's still hard to get information around it. It's the entirety of this is a casualty board sort of thing, and I think it's only from a couple of days ago. But the miss of the entirety of the previous campaign to the center will be ready to go for round one. That's what they're reporting. I've also seen it reported that he'll be about 5 or 6 weeks out. I think for the money and the potential of what he could be, if he's available for round one, I'll be having him, and I think most people should. Yeah, I think that's like for the price. I think it's massive. He was huge for us, and we missed him dearly. So I think he's definitely someone that needs to be there if he's playing. Munro, I think he's got a little while to go. I might be wrong there. Like I'm wrong, he's not even listed. So, but again, I think he's a good option. I do really think he's a good option. I'm just starting to get worried about how many South players I'm thinking I might have. So, but yeah, look, I think for the price, I think he's, that kid can be anything. So, Myers has the opportunity to be on the other wing. So I imagine it's going to be Munro, and then I think the other wing is going to be between Tass and Myers. Myers ended up winning it out for a little while. I think Tass is more of a centre, but he has played wing. So again, they're both sort of sitting at around the same price, so it's really not too much different. And I think I'm pretty sure that either one of these will be on the left side. So, I think it's definitely something to get. And yeah, I'll probably, if it's Myers, I probably would pick them. If it's Tass, I might not, just because I don't think he's got the massive scores in him. Like obviously he does if he scores the tries and stuff, but I just don't see him I don't know. I just don't think he's I think he's a good footy player. I just don't think he's a good Supercoach player. Jack Whiten, it is great that he's got the dual. That can really help. And I just think we're starting to look at too many South players really as options. And he got this score really by playing 5'8". I don't think that's going to happen now. If it does, he's probably an option there. But I just don't see him being an option at the moment. Yeah, so I'm going to get rid of Whiten. Even though, look, he's probably going to score some tries. He just at center, he doesn't seem to do much outside of that. Like he probably will get some try assists. Actually, I don't know. It's just his base isn't there. It's as simple as that. His base isn't there. So, Millar's again, he's a cheapie potentially, but I don't think he's really the option. I think it's going to be one of these two guys. Murray, I only have it here just because it's obvious, like that he's going to be out for like a good chunk of the start of the year. So again, he's not really an option. Now we've got Mitchell and Gray. Mitchell, due to the white powder thing, ridiculous. But anyway, he might. I think it's I don't know if it's confirmed or not. I don't think it is whether or not he'll be playing round one. If he's playing round one, I think he's definitely an option. Considering with the flex as well, like in part of me thinks he just go straight for having 3 big guns at fullback. But you're gonna go with 2 then. You have to, right? So, I suppose I would be thinking you'd be picking between Tedesco, Travojevic, Dylan Edwards probably, and Mitchell, and sneakily Scott Drinkwater because he's got the kick. He probably has the kicking. So there you sort of 5. Realistically, I think it's going to end up being Travojevic and Latrell for most people. You might end up getting and Ponga's the other one. Sorry, Ponga's the other one. Yeah, I think you've got sort of a combination of those ones, and I think Latrell will end up winning out. But it's if he's playing the first round. That's going to be important. I think he is, so I'll leave it. Gray, I think Gray's a great player. I think he's too small. I have heard a little bit of chat that he could potentially move to a halfback role, but look, until I see that, no. And still, I think he's too expensive anyway. If he is, he's 500 something, so you need to let him drop a fair bit first, so get rid of him. Well, and sorry, I haven't really gotten rid of these guys. So again, like I said, Mawali's, I think too much. Like I don't really think he's a cheapie. Kepi, I think that's his ceiling, really. Unfortunately, Post, I don't think it's an option. I don't think it's an option. I'm gonna just pick Dodd now, because I think that means Sullivan goes as well. Now Omatangi I think is too much, right? And then I will pick if he gets picked, I'll pick him, but I don't know, so let's just leave that. And Walker is not like he's someone I want to sort of try and get to. And those guys, again, see now this is what I'm saying with South. Now these are the legitimate options, right? So even when I was saying you've got those 2 guys there, you can't have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 South play. You can't. So I'm imagining that. Well, I would get rid of Arrow. I think that's sort of his ceiling anyway. Like he might be a little bit more, and unfortunately he's just as likely to get injured in a few weeks, right? Now I think this is probably what I would start with, right? And I know that's still a lot of South players, but yeah, I think that there's opportunity for Totola there. There's definitely opportunity for Havili with that duel as well. I think that duel's really important. Schuster, massive opportunity. Duncan as well. I'd probably end up not picking Duncan, even though I'd really want to. I'd probably end up not doing it. It depends on the other ones. So Dodd is probably someone I would pick. Probably as my second halfback. Like I don't really want to be playing him unless I say anything. And this is probably something I would keep. If I had to, I would probably get rid of Munro as the next person. But anyway, they're sort of your main guys. Really, I'd be like, I think are really proper options for everybody. Mitchell, Munro, Graham, the halfback, whoever that is, but let's say it's Dodd, Schuster, if he's playing, Totola, Havili, and Mamoulos. Yeah, so look, anyway, I hope that helps. So yeah, and obviously these things are going to change. More information is going to come out. I will try and do some more. So I'll do the teams like individually. But then I'll also try and just do some other things. Like I might talk about like the flex and like how that's going to impact. I think that's going to be a huge. What is a huge change. I think it's going to cause a bit of turmoil. And yeah, I think we've got a few other things that we can go through in terms of videos. Please like and subscribe, and check out deadmancollectibles.com, Deadman at Deadman Collectibles on Instagram, and yeah, let me know in the comments if there is any type of videos that you do want. And thanks for listening so much. So far, and yeah, good luck with your Supercoach, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
Dead man walking.
For life.